Thanks, John. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lakeland School Board Business Board meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. Madam Secretary, can you please note for the record a 7:12 p.m. start time? Thank you. Jeremy, would you do us the honor and lead us off this evening with our Pledge of Allegiance? If everyone will please rise.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jeremy. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Present.
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 Thank you, Madam Secretary. The record shows 7-2, so we have a quorum. We'll move forward. Okay, executive session. We had an executive session this evening. It started at 6:30 p.m. The executive session was in regard to contract negotiations and personnel. Informational items. Dr. White, do we have any informational items?
We do. We have a few informational items. The first one, want to call the board's attention to a motion that was added to the agenda. It is motion 2I, and that's under personnel. It is a motion to approve employee number 215 for a restoration of health sabbatical from June 1st, 2025 to May 31st, 2026. It is in your packet, and it's also in the publicly available packets. So, Attorney Finucci, we will have to have a motion to add this motion to the agenda. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Motion after public comment prior to your other motion.
Okay. All right.
Anything else?
Yeah, so a few more bits of public, of informational, a few more informational items. So I just wanted to call out Mr. Freeman's Project Lead the Way Engineering Design and Development class. And they held their final presentations last Friday right here in the auditorium. They were the students. There were 3 pairs of students who presented, and ultimately what they do is early in the school year they identify a common problem, and then they work through the design and development process throughout the school year, and that culminates in a presentation in front of a panel of judges. If you think Shark Tank, and that's pretty much what we have here, right? The presentations were incredible. The problems, I could spend all day talking about them. I'll just, when I say problems that affect everybody, one of them was how to make a shopping cart better, right? Between the wheels, and they had some great ideas with hooks and a brake. It was fantastic. But all the students that presented were fantastic. I do want to call out, number one, Mr. Freeman, because he put so much time and effort into this project, and the students really go way above and beyond with it, and it's so impressive. So I want to thank Mr. Freeman. I also want to thank, he brings in industry partners to work on this, so it's not just, the in-school experience. It really is an example of reaching beyond our walls to make sure our students get to collaborate with people who actually work in the engineering industry. And I want to give a special thanks to Liam Neary, Ron Jenkins, Patrick Troy, John Mecca, and Nathan Ayers, and they were all engineers from Lockheed Martin who were on the judging panel. I also want to recognize Nate Winnock. He is a Lakeland alum, and he was here from DMG Building Systems. And then from our Lakeland staff, Mr. Phelps and Dr. Thomas were also on the panel that judged, and they were great. They gave great feedback. They met with the students. It was really something to see. So hats off to, our thanks to all those previously mentioned people, but then our hats off to Mr. Freeman, and most importantly, the students in his Project Lead the Way Engineering Design and Development class. They really did an incredible job, and I think we may want to invest in some of their products. So that is one thing, and then it's actually a great lead-in to something that we're very, very excited about. Lakeland Junior Senior High School was named a 2024-2025 Project Lead the Way Distinguished High School. And that really is an incredible honor. This has been given out, the earliest I saw was like 2016, I believe, on the Project Lead the Way website. Only 48 schools, and that's elementary, middle, and high school, public, private, charter, all combined. Only 48 schools have earned this honor in Pennsylvania. Only 15 high schools have earned this honor in Pennsylvania historically, and only 11 were named this year. And this is our first year being named as a Project Lead the Way Distinguished High School. There's different criteria for that, the number of courses that are offered, making sure that it's available to as many students as possible, so it's accessible. Also ensuring that students remain in the program and don't just take a Project Lead the Way course and then exit the program, so retention in the program. I think we consistently tout our Project Lead the Way programs as being among kind of our flagship programs here at Lakeland Junior Senior High School, and to see that recognized on a much broader level, being named a Project Lead the Way Distinguished High School, I think is really a feather in the cap, not only of the school district, but most certainly the teachers who put so much time and effort into the Project Lead the Way curriculum and those courses, and certainly the students who do such a phenomenal job in those courses. So we're very, very proud and excited to announce that Lakeland has been named a 2024 Project Lead the Way Distinguished High School.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Okay. We will move on to student recognition this evening. Mr. Rosencrantz?
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to have possibly our last senior recognitions. I do have two of our March and April winners, Julian Kane and Braden Osborne, who not last time had their lacrosse game, but then tonight they have their lacrosse banquet. So they will not be joining us, but they probably, hopefully, may come in June. I do want to honor our March and April female winners, who are Jacqueline Nally and Brooke Hill. So the teachers nominating Jacqueline said that Jacqueline's an amazing student. She is kind, smart, driven, and she was always willing to help anyone who needs it. Jacqueline is a member of FBLA, Mu Alpha Theta, National Honor Society, Scholastic Bowl Team, varsity soccer, and varsity track and field. The teachers nominating Brooke said she's a great representation of Lakeland. She challenges herself academically, and she is involved in many extracurricular activities. Brooke is a member of FCCLA, Mu Alpha Theta, National Honor Society, varsity girls soccer, and varsity girls track. And I'll turn it over to the ladies.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Hill, and I'm truly honored to be here with you today. I'd like to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to my family and friends for their constant support throughout my journey in both my academics and athletics. I'm also incredibly thankful to my teachers for equipping me with the knowledge and guidance to follow my dreams. My experiences at Lakeland have been truly exceptional and will always serve as a cornerstone to my life. The memories I've made here are ones I will carry with me forever. Thank you.
My name is Jacqueline Nally, and I just want to thank all of the teachers that recognized all the hard work I've been putting in, and a special thanks to Mr. Freeman for always encouraging me to succeed and having faith in the things that I do.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Rosencrantz. Heading out for pictures? Okay, thank you. Okay. Before we move off student recognition, I do have one more student I do want to take a moment here to recognize. Actually, two students. It's our student representatives, Jeremy, and I know we couldn't be here this evening. I think it was lacrosse, right? Yeah, that's right. Usually May is our final month where we see our student representatives join us. I always say it. I haven't had anybody come back yet, but you are more than welcome to join us in June. But I think at that point you'll be a Lakeland graduate, so it's rare that we have anybody come back to sit on stage, but you're more than welcome to. But I just want to take a moment to thank the two of you for your time this year. I think You've always come to these meetings, you've always participated, you were out with the two of you have always been engaged, well-prepared. Everything you delivered was very professional. I know I have had an opportunity to get to know the two of you pretty, I don't want to say pretty well, but on a much better basis. I know we do a little paper, scissors, rock here and there to start us off in the meeting, but I just want to simply say, hopefully the two of you had an opportunity and a chance to really see how an elected board of officials acts as a governing body and kind of manages a business, or in this case, the school district. So hopefully that'll be something that you'll take with you in your future plans. And on behalf of all of us sitting here as well, we just want to wish the two of you the best in your future endeavors, wherever you so choose. And maybe our only ask is don't forget where your roots started here at good old LHS. So, you're welcome. All right, we will move on to public comment on agenda items only. Do we have any public comment?
I have questions on the bills. So if you page 5 of 9, and the van broken window repair, $2,000, wasn't that covered by insurance?
Rose, if you want to give me all of them, and I could write them down, and then,
Quite a few, so,
okay.
okay, so that's on the van, the broken window. I also want to know the law firm Marshall, Denny Warner for $2,600. What legal matter are they representing? I also want more detail on page 8, Borough Mayfield, the sidewalk. You want to address the bills, or you want me to keep going with the,
If you're done with the bills, I can address the bills, and then we can go. Yeah, so the van, Mr. Caputo, correct if I'm wrong, but the window wasn't actually $2,000 and some dollars. That's the way it shows up on the bill, correct? That's partially a payment for the actual van contract, and then a portion of that was to replace a broken window, correct? And Rose, with that, if a student breaks a window maliciously or something along those lines, the student pays. So we would pay, and then the student would be charged.
okay, so actually that was van service, most of that 2,000?
And then Marshall Dennehy represents us in special education matters. So that was a special education due process claim. And then finally, the Mayfield sidewalk, you'll probably recall that we approved a certain number, I believe it was 15,000, which was a split for the engineering costs. So that is going towards the drawdown of that number.
So now on the agenda items, so under personnel, F and G, those two resignations, and those two positions are going to be filled
Page 4.
for a science and English. And
D&E under,
financial. The agreement between Avina Healthcare and the Scott Township agreement.
okay. So with regard to F and G under personnel, F is a personal care aide. That position will be filled. The high school science teacher, that was a current long-term substitute, so that position also had to be filled. And actually, there was an appointment at the previous meeting to, or no, I'm sorry, we're utilizing Kelly Services for that position because it's less than 90 days. With regard to curriculum, B, the waiver of the hearing, there are no public funds that are expended as part of that agreement. Mr. Boyarsky, as the treasurer, there is no compensation for that. Mr. Caputo clarified the tax increase to be 7.21 mils. With regard to, under financial, letter D, and that is Aviana, I believe, healthcare. And that is a service provider that the district uses only when needed, and they provide things that the district does not generally staff, like nursing services, not school nurse services, but if we have a student who requires a nurse. So we have multiple agencies that we work with. Aviana's one, Interim Healthcare is one. So that contract is not a contract, let me make sure I have it, so I'm looking at the correct, speaking from memory. Yeah. So Aviana Healthcare, that's not a contract for a specific person. That's a contract essentially to do business with them, should the need arise. Same thing we have with Interim, for example. 9 times out of 10, that's utilized for special education services. And with regard to the settlement agreement between the Lakeland School District and Scott Township, that is in relation to a longstanding legal case related to, Mr. Caputo, which specific tax was it? What was it? Earned income tax, where I believe it was 10 to 15 years ago, there was a discrepancy with what the district was owed and what Scott Township provided to the district. And at this point, acting on the advice of legal counsel that was retained, separate legal counsel that was retained for that lawsuit, that advice was that at this point, the cost to the district to attempt to recoup those funds with no guarantee to recoup those funds it's probably not worth it to go after those funds. We could be at a point where we're putting good money to go after something that may not return, and we don't even have a quantifiable way, a way to quantify exactly what's owed. So we are settling to no longer pursue those funds for the school district.
Now, as far as the public comment on this 7.21 millage increase, you have to stop burdening the taxpayers. I keep telling you that. And you can't keep blaming the past boards or what happened in 2012, because I think probably the only one that came to the 2012 meeting was Joe Sullivan, if you would come periodically. The rest of you, I don't ever remember seeing any of you. But you keep blaming the past. No, you're here now. You've raised them and raised them, so start cutting expenses.
Any other public comment? Just on the agenda, yep. Okay. We will move forward to board committee reports. We'll start off with our student representative report. Jeremy?
Well, I regret to inform you guys that I don't have anything noteworthy to report tonight, so.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to legislative chair. Brad?
Yeah, just briefly, just monitoring the executive order by the president to abolish the Department of Education. No new noise on that, but obviously something we want to keep an eye on, as it would have negative implications to funding, not least of which to special education funding, especially for a school like us. So, that's it.
Thank you. NEIU is Mrs. Roberts, so we don't have a report this evening. CTC board report is me, so I do have a few highlights. For CTC, so tomorrow, we will have 15 seniors from Lakeland that will be receiving their CTC program study certificates during the CTC graduation ceremony. Some really good news. Marley Bodner, who is one of our seniors, was recognized at the CTC Scholar of the Year, at NEIU Scholar of the Year banquet. Marley is in the cosmetology program. Marley will, since she has been recognized as the CTC Scholar of the Year, she will have the opportunity, which every Scholar of the Year does each year at CTC, to address the graduating class, which is 270 strong at CTC. It may be the largest, from my understanding from Dr. Carlucci, maybe the largest graduating class thus far at the CTC with 270. So hats off to Marley. I had an opportunity, I think Marley was our student of the month, I don't know if it was last month or a few months ago? Yeah, to get to know her a little bit here, and of course at the CTC, and she's just an extraordinarily young, extraordinarily bright, very approachable young woman. So congratulations to her. Clearly making her, putting a name for herself as well as Lakeland. So very proud. In addition to Marley, we'll have three other Lakeland students, or we do have three other Lakeland students that were inducted into the CTC's National Technical Honor Society for their high achievement at both CTC and Lakeland. The students are Regina Neves, Grayson Keene, and Nick Klimish. So congrats to all four of them, and some really good news with our students at CTC. Okay, we'll move on to correspondence. Any correspondence, Dr. Wyatt?
No correspondence this evening.
Okay. We'll move on to motions this evening. Before we start with the motions, I'm going to make a motion to add, well, make sure I have it correct here. Bear with me. It's 2I, right? Yep. I'm going to make a motion to add motion 2I to the agenda this evening. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Solomon, second by, I think it was Mr. Beneski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion 2I has been added to the agenda. All right. I'll take motion 1A and 1B. I'll make a motion to, 1A is to make a motion to approve agenda items. Motion 1B, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 16th, 25 regular business board meeting per enclosure 1A. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Beneski's fast on the gun tonight. All right, I made the motion, second, Mr. Beneski, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion 1A and 1B passes. Okay, we'll move on to 2A, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve the uncompensated leave request for employee 711 per enclosure 2A.
Second.
Motion Boyarsky, second Sullivan. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 2A passes. B, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the uncompensated leave request for employee number 817 as per enclosure 2B.
Second.
Sullivan, Brunzel, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? B passes. C, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to approve the uncompensated leave request for employee 803 per enclosure 2C.
Second.
Brunzel, Beneski, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2C passes. 2D, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve the uncompensated leave request for employee number 819 per enclosure 2D.
Second.
Beneski, Ball, on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2D passes. E, please.
Mr. President, I motion to accept the letter of resignation from Cynthia Bassarelli, personal care aide, effective May 2nd, 2025.
Second.
Turnback, Paul, Boyarsky, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? E passes. F, please.
Mr. President, I motion to accept the letter of resignation from Therese Bukowski, high school science teacher, effective April 25th, 2025.
Second.
Boyarsky, Sullivan, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? F passes. G, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the letter of retirement from Charles Barlow, high school English teacher, effective June 9, 2025.
Second.
Motion Sullivan, second Brunzel. On the question? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2G passes. Before we go to H, do you have any
Yeah,
comments?
definitely want to say, just really want to wish Mr. Barlow the very, very best. He has been an incredible teacher for the Lakeland Junior Senior High School. And it's interesting, I just had a conversation with him in the hallway. So at our most recent in-service, we asked teachers who were particularly proud of some things that they are doing to present to their teammates. And he presented on AI in the classroom. And I said to him, you know, a lot of people say that as teachers get older, get closer to retirement, they stop evolving or might you know, people could say get stuck in their ways. And Mr. Barlow, I personally sat in on that, and man, is he way ahead with AI. And I said it was just really a testament to his continual commitment to the students and to our school district. He will be missed. And in addition to Mr. Barlow, we have Mrs. Anselmi and Mrs. Ritter all retiring this year, so we're losing some excellent, excellent educators. We wish them the best for a long, happy, and healthy retirement.
Excellent. And thank you for all three, for your years of service, and we wish you the best in your next chapter. Okay, we'll move to H, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to approve the employee 262 for a full semester restoration of health sabbatical for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
Brunzel, Beneski, question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? H passes. I, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve employee number 215 for restoration of health sabbatical from June 1st, 2025 to May 31st, 2026.
Second.
Beneski, Turnback, Paul, question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I passes. 2J, please.
Mr. President, I motion to appoint Amy Begley as an elementary teacher at Bachelor Step 3 salary of $47,456 effective August 25th, 2025, per the terms of the 24-27 LEA collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Turnback, Paul, Boyarsky. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 2J passes. K, please.
Mr. President, I motion to appoint Melissa Clem as an elementary teacher at a master's step 4 salary of $51,377 effective August 25th, 2025, per the terms of the 24-27 LEA collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Boyarsky, Sullivan, on the question. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 K passes. 2L, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Elisa Jones as a long-term substitute elementary school counselor for the first semester of the 2025-2026 school year at a master step 1 salary of $50,456 per the terms of the LEA collective bargaining agreement.
I second.
Sullivan, Brunzel, on the question. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 L passes. M, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to appoint Brian Wagner as the Lakeland School District Athletic Director for the 2025-2026 school year with a compensation per the terms of the 2024-2027 LEA collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Brunzel, Beneski, on the question. Roll call.
Yes.
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 M passes. N, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion to appoint Dr. Nicholas Demian as the Lakeland School District Dentist for the 2025 to 2026 school year at a rate of $500.
Second.
Vineski, Trimback, Paul, on the question? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Sullivan, yes.
Yes.
N passes. 2-0, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve up to 15 days of work during the summer of 2025 for the high school counselors Don DiCurvedo and Zach Waters at their per diem rate.
Second.
Trimback, Paul, Boyarsky, on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? O passes. We're going to need halftime here pretty soon. All right, 2P.
Mr. President, I motion to approve up to 4 days of work during the summer of 2025 for the elementary school counselors Deneen Vagnetti and Brianna Miller at their per diem rate.
Second.
Vineski, Sullivan, question. Roll call.
Yes.
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 P passes. Q, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve up to 5 days of work during the summer of 2025 for Colleen Tricolo, high school nurse, CSN, at her per diem rate.
I second.
Sullivan, Brunzel, question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Q passes.
Mr. President, I'd like to approve the extended school year staff list per enclosure 2E with compensation at the hourly rate of $41.02 per the terms of the 2024-2027 LEA collective bargaining agreement.
Second?
Brunzel, Vineski, on the question. Roll call.
Yes.
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 R passes. S, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the extended school year support staff list per enclosure 2F with compensation at their individual hourly rate in accordance to the 2021 to 2025 LESPA collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
On the question. Roll call.
Yes.
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 S passes. T, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve the extracurricular positions of advisors and department chairs per enclosure 2G for the 25-26 school year with compensation for the terms of the 24-27 LEA collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
On the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? T passes. U, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve the fall sports coach list per enclosure 2H for the 25-26 school year, only with compensation per the terms of the 24-27 LEA collective bargaining agreement, pending the receipt of all required clearances.
Second.
Second. Third.
On the question. Roll call.
Yes.
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 U passes. V, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the conference request of Nellie Shiver for the Advanced Placement Summer Institute online, July 21, 2025 to July 25th, 2025, per enclosure 2I.
I second.
On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? V passes. W.
Mr. President, I'd like to approve the conference request of Nellie Shiver for the PLTW Principles of Biomedical Science Core Training, July 7th, 2025 to July 18th, 2025, per enclosure 2I.
Second?
On the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? W passes. 3A, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the agreement between Lakeland School District and Meraki, Pennsylvania for the 2025-2026 school year per enclosure 3A.
Second.
On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A passes. B, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve and adopt the amended stipulation and waiver of hearing agreement between Lakeland School District and student 2941-45524 per enclosure 3B.
Second?
On the question? Roll call?
Yes.
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 B passes. C, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve the 25-26 intergovernmental agreement for special education services between Lakeland School District and NEIU 19 per enclosure 3C.
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? C passes. D, please.
B?
D.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2025 to 2027 service agreement between the Lakeland School District, Northern Tier Industry, and Education Consortium for enclosure 3D.
I second.
On the question? Roll call?
Yes.
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 D passes. 4A.
Mr. President, I'd like to adopt the following board policy on a third and final reading. Board Policy 808, Food Services per enclosure 4A.
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4A passes. B, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion to appoint Bobby Boyarsky to serve a one-year term as the Lakeland School District Board Treasurer.
Second.
On the question? Roll call?
Yes.
Abstain?
Yes, oh, okay, yes.
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 4B passes. Congratulations, Mr. Boyarsky.
Thank you.
Yay, Bob. Pro bono.
All right, we'll move on to 5A, motion 500, it feels like.
Mr. President, I motion to approve the list of bills for April 8th, 2025 through May 13th, 2025 per enclosure 5A.
Second?
On the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A passes. B, please.
Mr. President, I motion to approve the treasurer's report for April 2025 per enclosure 5B.
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B passes. C, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the proposed final budget for the 2025-2026 school year. Total expenditures of $30,843,094. This includes a 5.2% real estate tax increase and make available for public inspection Form PDE-2028 per enclosure 5C. Insert in the daily newspaper for the proper advertisement to offer public notice of the district's intent to adopt the 2025-2026 final general budget.
I second.
On the question, I just have a comment just for the public record. It's 7.21 mils, 5.2%, 7.21 mils. Anyone else on the question? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 C passes. D, please.
Oh, sorry, everybody. Mr. President, I'd like to approve the agreement between the Lakeland School District and the Avena Healthcare legal titles for the 2025-2026 school per enclosure 5D.
Second.
On the question, roll call.
Yes.
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 D passes. E, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the settlement agreement between Lakeland School District and Scott Township per enclosure 5E.
Second.
On the question, roll call.
Yes.
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 E passes. Move on to miscellaneous. Do we have any miscellaneous? Okay. Public comment in general, doesn't have to be on the agenda, but any public comment this evening? If anybody does, if you can come up to the microphone, please.
We could bring the microphone if you're handicapped.
Yeah, we could. Bill, if you can just name, first, last name, and just where you reside for the public
Yep.
record. Thanks.
William Jenkins, Scott Township. My only public comment would be regarding, I understand that we've had, I'll call it an issue with substitutes within our district, particularly the elementary schools, and now we're dividing classrooms up to other teachers that may not even be in the same grade. So now we're taking students from, I'll use a first grade class, putting them in kindergarten, putting some in first, putting some in second, and then we're paying those teachers at a rate that I was told at one point is a lot lower than what the actual rate is of $42.50 per the Lakeland contract. So if we're paying these teachers, 4 teachers, $42.50 to watch these classrooms, and then an additional if they take on the planning period. With that being said, I don't understand why we aren't trying to do something with the substitutes. I understand we use the Kelly program or whatever it may be, but I also then understand that teachers aren't posting on there till 2 days before or the night before. I understand that would make it tough, but I've been in front of this board before when certain board members say education is so important and we don't want to burden classrooms with additional students. That's just backfired because that's exactly what we are doing to our students. Even if it's 1 day, 2 days, they add up. I mean, we're all super worried about our students coming to school and attendance, their grades not being good, which I don't agree that attendance goes hand in hand with grades, but that's for a different debate. But putting our students in classrooms and burdening teachers on top of paying them, if it's additional teachers, paying them more than what a sub would be, and I can't see what kind of education our student is getting for that day, 2 day, 3 day, whatever it may be throughout the year. I'm sure it adds up over the year. So they're not getting the education that we're hoping they get while they're in the classroom by not. And I understand, don't get me wrong, when there's subs there, it's not going to be as much. But now we're taking away from a kindergarten class or a second grade class because I'm sure they can't teach the same thing if they have first graders in their classroom. I'm not saying it's first grade in particular. I'm just trying to use that as an example. So I don't know how we're going to move forward. Maybe in the 25-26 school year, we could try to better provide for our students, especially on an educational standpoint. So I don't know. I know the school board meeting isn't the place to get comments back. So
I can offer, you know, and this has come up. I know it's come up a couple times here, but so. You know, the issue regarding substitutes is a challenge, right? We actually were doing really well early in the year. We were seeing fill rates that were exceeding 90% at the elementary schools, far better than we've seen in the past 5 or 6 years. And so after the holiday, we started seeing declining fill rates. Now I will say, prior to the holiday, we did eliminate building subs as a cost savings measure. What we found in an analysis was that when we were having 90% fill rates, there were extra hands, which is helpful, but when we're looking at balancing as budget, you know, the way it aligns to the budget. The difficulty now we faced is that many of or several of our building subs that we used to use still pick up jobs every day, so we're still utilizing them, you know. Some of the other ones went to districts that do hire building subs and incur that cost. Splitting classes is not ideal. We know that, you know, and you hit the nail on the head. I know that, Heather, you had mentioned it in the past, but the negative impact on education when you split classes is problematic. We are, to some degree, handcuffed by the CBA and, you know, the mechanisms that are there for us. What I can tell you is that we don't make an active choice to not fill sub positions in order to pay people the stipend to split the class. That only happens when the jobs aren't picked up, right? As you get going through the school year, what also happens is that pool of subs that starts pretty large gets dwindled down because, like us, right, if you have a teacher who then goes out mid-year, somebody snatches up one of those good subs, right, and puts them in that classroom. Even us, 2 or 3 of our day-to-day subs that would normally pick up jobs are currently in positions, in long-term positions within our district because they were good. Somebody went out, we grabbed them and put them into that position, so then they come out of the pool. You know, we do have situations where people put the absences in late, which makes it a challenge, but in defense of the teachers, also, you know, whether they get up in the morning not feeling well, their kid gets up, so I don't think it's malicious by any means. And I know that's not what you're saying.
I can
you know,
understand that. No,
but that's just a challenge that we face. The broader challenge that we continue to face is, you know, the teaching pool is completely diminished. You look at the numbers, I'll shoot from the hip, but I think 10 years ago, they issued 21,000 certificates in a year. Now they're issuing 3,000 to 6,000 in a year. So the pool, to say that the teaching pool has been cut in half is not even, it's actually worse than that. We have, a lot of our subs are emergency certified. They don't have a background in teaching. They do a phenomenal job, the great majority of them in here for us. What I would say is, you know, as a call to, if anybody knows anybody who has any kind of an inclination to work within a school system, want to get their feet wet, you know, and experience it, see what it's like, even if you're only available 1 day a week. If you want to sign up to sub with the Lakeland School District, you could identify through Kelly Services that you only want to be called for Lakeland. And even if you're only available on Mondays, that might make the difference if a few people decide that they want to do that. So that would kind of be the call that I put out, because I would hope that as the coming year arrives, we are seeing some replenishment in the teaching pool. I would hope we benefit from that and we see greater fill rates, you know, getting back to what we saw at the start of the school year. But, you know, I could never sit here and say, hey, this is not a problem, don't worry about it. It is, you know, and just know that we're not making any conscious decisions to put kids in less than optimal situations instructionally as a means of trying to, you know, just hand out the stipends and not bring subs on. That's,
No, I understand. I understand teachers have to be paid. I mean, that's a ton for them to take on if they're taking on additional kids. Like, that's not necessarily fair to them either, but.
It's a burden. It's an impediment. Yep.
So, it was brought to my attention. I hadn't known about it, so I came here.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Jenkins. Any other public comment?
So the 7.21 increase that I think you're all like a bunch of lemmings, how much is that going to generate for the school now? 619,000. 619,000. And how is that going to be expended? Do you have a plan?
So you weren't here last week when we did the presentation. Our healthcare costs.
I heard about that, but I thought you were working on a pharmacy program.
We are, but just so you know, the year before it went up 600,000, and also this year it went up 670,000. So in 2 years, we had an increase of over 1.2 million. So just that tax increase alone isn't even enough for our healthcare increase, never mind CBA increases in salaries, supplies, all that other stuff. But just health alone, it's not even enough to cover.
Now, there's Senator Brown that's in, I'm sorry, you were going to say. Oh, no, go ahead. I didn't see it. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, let's, do we have to, I think we have to finish the one that started.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
So if you could just wait 2 minutes, sorry.
I didn't realize that she was over there. No, that's quite all right. So,
Senator Brown?
yeah, are you following up on that? We're
Yes. Oh,
introducing a bill, but I mean, is that bill going to go anywhere in the Senate, or is it just?
well, I would only be speculating, right? But I think that bill is advantageous to us. I think it's significantly more fair than what we're facing right now, because truth be told, we talk about raising taxes, we talk, right? Cyber charter reform, funding reform, is an absolute must at this point. And if every taxpayer should be banging down the door for that, because the bottom line when it comes to, and we're not saying anything about whether or not students should have an option to go to a cyber charter school, because that's fine, right? What we are saying is that they need to be funded appropriately, and right now they are not being funded appropriately, right? We pay for a general education student $12,000 per student. For a special education student, we pay $30,000 per student. And when students go to cyber charter schools, oftentimes, they leave us as a general education student, and within months, They are identified as being in need of some form of special education, even if it's just a speech and language IEP, which we can provide somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per year. If you get a speech and language IEP, you go from $12,000 a year at the cyber charter to $30,000 a year at the cyber charter, and we pay that bill. Taxpayers pay that bill, right? So with regard to Senator Brown's bill, I've actually talked to Senator Brown. I'm going to continue to talk to Senator Brown. I was telling Mr. Caputo I'm on a conference call with other superintendents about advocating specifically for the passage of that bill when it comes to a vote as a bill. And that is something we are advocating strongly. I was in Harrisburg 2 weeks ago meeting with legislators. We need cyber charter funding reform right now. Her bill is excellent. Whether it's going to go anywhere, I don't know. I know that I can speak for her. I could speak to her as a strong advocate for cyber charter reform, and she has been ever since she was in the House. So we'll be following that very closely, advocating very strongly for the passage of that bill, or if there's a bill that even makes some progress, right, but meaningful progress for this district. We will be advocating hard on that, and I may be back down in Harrisburg before this budget session is over.
And can you address all of this rumor that there's so much bullying going on in the school, and that people have come to some of your administration and they just ignore it?
Rose, the only thing I could address with that, because obviously we're talking about specific situations, I'm certain that I don't have all the details on, but what I can tell you is, working closely with high school administration, right, is that when reports are made, it is not ignored. It is not always resolved to the liking of people involved, because sometimes they have one side has one set of facts, one side has another set of facts, and it's our job to try and find out where the truth lies and react appropriately, right? But what I can say is that the Lakeland schools are safe places. They are not perfect places. They are definitively safe places, and when there are concerns that arise, we are responsive, we do address them, and we do our very best to make sure that every student feels good about walking through our doors.
Okay. Any additional public comment?
Do I introduce myself?
Please, yes, first and last, and where you're from.
It's Danielle Beneski. I'm going to be the PTA president for Mayfield of next year. I had a couple things I wanted to talk about. First would be the inequality between the two schools, between Mayfield and Scott. Obviously, something I know I've brought up a couple times with you, Dr. Ryan, was just the curtains at the Mayfield campus. You know how I feel about those. Also, the field trip issue that we're having. We wanted to know, Heather and myself and a couple other people, who pays for field trips for the schools? If it's coming from the district or if it's a PTA-funded event. That's something I would need to know. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up was families that live in the Mayfield district who send their kids to Scott. I feel like you're taking good families out of our school and putting them at Scott. It gives the appearance that Scott's the better school. I don't like that. I think Mayfield's a great school. We have potential there to be even better, but I feel like we need to maybe investigate more into that. I don't know how that would go. That's not my wheelhouse. I had notes. My kids have my phone. What else is on there? Sorry, guys. They're wild tonight. Let me think. Oh, I think that might be it. I don't know.
I'll buy you a minute here. So the two questions I wrote down were who pays for the school trips? Are they school funded? In the removal of, I'll say the word removal, but students from from Mayfield that may be placed into the Scott Elementary.
Yes.
Okay. Did I buy you time to think of the other question?
No, but
Okay.
that's all right.
You know I talk a lot, Danielle,
Yeah.
so by the time I get done, you may have the next
True.
set of questions prepared.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to address these two. So with regard to who pays for field trips, the district does allocate to both buildings a number for the field trips. It is not inequitable. Each building, based on its student
Is that
population.
for just transportation, or is that for also their ticket into?
So that depends on where the trip is going,
Okay.
right? So, we've had classes take a trip that's an hour away, and the ticket is, rather expensive. Not every place is created equal. So,
Okay.
in those cases, district funds can be utilized for transportation.
Okay.
Sometimes district funds are utilized for transportation and the student's ticket. Sometimes, I'd say oftentimes, the parents kick in for a lot of the field trips in terms of the price of admission, maybe.
Okay.
Excuse me. Or there may be a price calculated per family, so that if the trip goes beyond So that one grade level doesn't eat up an entire district, an
And is
entire
that, you think, where
school's
like the PTA could
budget.
maybe come in?
And if there's, yeah, if
Okay.
there's hardship or something like that, the PTA will often kind of kick in for either, students who have a hardship, or sometimes they'll supplement, the funds to ensure that trip can happen. But from the standpoint of, I think it works pretty much the same at both buildings in terms of when, the teachers determine where their trips are going. And then from there, some grade levels go, as you know, some grade levels go locally, and there's not a big cost, and therefore nothing's passed on to families or the PTA. Some grade levels go on further trips that have a greater cost, so there may be some cost passed on, or PTA may pick up some cost.
Okay. So then, like, is there a way maybe in the future to have both schools, both Scott and Mayfield, sync up their field trips so that kindergarten goes the same place around the same time, first, second, third, and so on? So that it's like more on like the same playing field there, so one's not getting a great trip to a zoo out in New York and one's going down the street, which is great. The kids are excited, but.
Right. So the only thing I could say right now is that, as of right now, the teachers have autonomy over where they go on their field trips, as long as the places are safe. Because again, if a grade level is going somewhere that goes beyond the school day, the district can't compel a teacher to take that trip, right? So there is some autonomy there. I can completely understand, the idea of trying to sync up, because you don't want there to
Yeah.
feel that there's an inequity.
Because the way it looks, like, I feel like I should send my kids to Scott. They have the better trips right now. It seems like a funner school.
From a parent perspective, that's, what I will say is each building has their strengths, right? And I can make a great case for why students should attend Scott campus. I can make a great case for why students should attend Mayfield campus, right? But I certainly understand from your standpoint, when we're talking specifically about this specific issue and specific grade levels, where there may be inequity. And I can tell you that there has been situations in the not-so-recent past where there's been a concern, at Scott, for example, a certain grade level wasn't going somewhere maybe as exciting as a grade level at Mayfield. And that truthfully has happened as well. So, we're sitting here, we're talking about what we're talking about at this moment, but, in the recent history, it hasn't been, it's gone the other way also, in that manner, right?
Okay.
And then the other one, with regard to families who live in Mayfield, so, and attend Scott campus.
So I think it would be Mayfield, Carbondale Township, and Greenfield, right?
Right. For the family, yeah, that's true. Families who fall within Mayfield's catchment
Yes.
area, right? So the district's stance on that is that those students are zoned for Mayfield, and they will attend Mayfield campus, right?
Yes.
Now, I will tell you, in the interest of perfect transparency, right, there's been a courtesy extended to teachers who teach at Scott and who choose to have their children attend Scott campus. That is not if they're out of district. They have to be Lakeland residents, Lakeland taxpayers, but if they lived in the Mayfield catchment area. And that is not articulated in the CBA, but that's been extended in the past, right? And that is not something that's been extended to the support staff, nor any other employees of the Lakeland School District that I'm aware of sitting here. I can tell you definitively with so it's not extended to anybody beyond that group. And to the degree that if there are, people who are doing it without our knowledge, then that is something that, we would address. What I will tell you also is that when it comes to investigations, we do prioritize investigations of families who live outside of the Lakeland School District altogether, because at that point, they're committing fraud and they're not even taxpayers of the district. But our expectation, like if somebody calls the district office, for example, for kindergarten registration and says, hey, I live in German, but I want my kid to go to Scott, the answer is a clear, your child has to go to Mayfield. Because we also believe, as you said, right, we're not going to facilitate an exodus of Mayfield campus, which we think is and should be equal to Scott campus, right? I mean, I truly, like I said, I could sit here and make a great case for why your child could attend Scott. I can make a great case why your child should attend Mayfield campus as well.
From Scott and Mayfield, why can't they go to the same place at the same time as one big trip, even to get to know them, each
Yeah,
other.
'cause I know I brought that up when him and I have had a meeting
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Saying,
like
'cause, like,
even
they're gonna
second grade.
eventually go to school together when they get here. So
Yeah,
that way,
well,
like,
my daughter
throughout
was
the
in
years.
fourth grade. I think they went to Washington DC back then.
Yeah.
But the parents had to pay for it, obviously. But Mayfield went and Scott went on a bus trip to Washington DC. You know what I mean? The same grade, they were
Yep.
teaching the same stuff about the Holocaust, World War
Right.
II, and they did it together. That's why I think.
Yeah,
you
no, I
feel
think
like
that's
you're
a,
getting ripped off because it seems like Scott does do more
Yes.
than Mayfield. I've heard that
I
from
know
many
it's not just me that
parents.
feels this way. It's a lot of parents that go to Mayfield who have these feelings.
Yes, I've heard, yes, I
Yeah.
saw it on Facebook.
yeah, so, and again, so, you know, like I said, teachers have had autonomy over where they go. One of those things is if one grade level decides to go that extends beyond the school day, we can't force the teachers to, at a different building, to do that. So I mean, it's been, field trips have been a kind of a highly personal thing. You know, a lot of times teachers get accustomed to a specific place where they know the lay of the land, the kids really enjoy it, you know, whatever the case may be. And, you know, we have not been in the business to this point of saying, you can't go there, you have to go to the same place that this other grade level in the other building goes to. If that's something I mean, you could make a good argument for the benefits of that, right?
Yeah, and they
You
get
could
to know
definitely make
each
a good
other. All
argument for the
sixth
benefits of
grade
that, but
goes
it'd be a
somewhere.
change in how we do it. And again, that may negate field trips that extend beyond the school day.
But like, I know that Harperville, New York, that zoo up there, that Animal Adventure Park, that's what it's called. I know the kids went last year within the school timeframe. They left after.
Well, yeah, I don't know if
breakfast.
that's
Yeah.
one of them
'cause, like,
that
that was an option for this year for kindergarten, but it seemed that like nobody wanted to do that, which is fine if the teachers don't want to take the kids, and that's why I had suggested previously, why couldn't an aide or a different, maybe the art teacher or
Well, why can't the
Jim
parents?
can maybe take the children.
Can a teacher and parents take them, Joe? Like, can
Or
the
like the,
parents?
like PTA, like we chaperone.
Chaperones.
So
Why aren't?
right,
Yeah, like my kid's in baseball and his friends are talking about their trips and he's not going. Well, that's an option, like, being on the PTA, like, we have the money to do that, and no one's ever approached us. And Mr. Sullivan this past year has been actually really, yeah, exactly, it's not the money. Especially because a lot of students, they'll never get a chance to go some places. So like, this is like something they're missing out on, and again, when you're in sports and you,
no, so I think that, one, we have to be cautious not to say, you know, every teacher in Mayfield is not willing to
Oh, no,
go
there's
above and
phenomenal
beyond
teachers at
for
Mayfield.
our
Yes,
students, right? And I
agreed.
think, like I said, it was not all that long ago, I think 2 years ago, where we had the same issue where there was, you know, the Scott campus was not doing a field trip in certain grade levels, and Mayfield was, and we had, you know, I think the same scenario in the inverse, might have been 3 years ago. And that's not to point a finger at Scott campus,
No,
right?
no, yeah.
I want to be, I can understand frustration, right? I think that in the past, I know that Mayfield campus, right, I believe the PTA fundraising has not been prior, like, in
agreed,
years
but
past.
Brad and I we have offered multiple years. Apollo's going into fourth grade. Apollo's going into fourth grade, and he just went on his first field trip last year. Brad and I have offered multiple years to pay for the field trips for the entire grade. With other, the Macheskis have also offered to do the same.
Danielle, I'm not trying to say it's
So,
it's a money issue. We know, I think we know
Yeah.
what the situation is right now is there's two grade
So like,
levels.
and I know you can't force a teacher to go.
Correct.
But if that teacher does not want to go, why can't we have somebody else step in their place?
Right, and
Like,
that's-
one of the special teachers, someone who teaches art, library, Mrs. Tuttle, somebody.
If someone is willing that can happen,
Okay.
right? It's not that it can't, what we can't do is we can't put all the students on buses with only parents, with no offense to parents.
No,
But
I
it's a
know,
school, it's
yeah.
gonna be a school field trip,
I
right?
know, yeah,
But if there's
especially school.
another teacher who is willing to take students, that can happen. And I know we discussed that, and I know
Yes.
you were working with Mr. Sullivan on some alternatives.
Yes.
Um,
And he had
and-
list aides and stuff to get them in.
Right, and I know, and I will tell you that I spoke to some of the teachers that we're referencing here, right? And they don't take this lightly either, and they've done some phenomenal field trips in the past. These are not teachers who have never taken students on field trips. They've shared some of their concerns with regard to, some of the specific needs within their class, but I did say to them, as I said up here, that the district is committed to providing whatever support is necessary in order to ensure that, that the students could take a field trip. So, right now, I think, we've had these conversations. I think for this year, I think there's limited time left. I think there's a plan in place that I know is not equivalent to what is happening at other buildings.
Yeah.
Definitely recognize that. I think that this is something moving forward. The discussions have to start early in the year next year with Mr. Sullivan, with the PTA, with the teachers, right? And to see if there is any way to align field trips, right? And
It would just be nice if the teachers would respond to the emails that people send them is all. That should be noted.
Okay.
So to have discussions, you'd have to communicate, but anyways, I'm gonna go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Pineski. What else? Any other public comment?
Hello, Heather Tallarico, Mayfield. So I just have a question about the work session, because different districts do things differently. So public is open to come to these and engage in like questioning, like as you're reviewing some of these items?
The work sessions are open to the public, yeah.
Okay. It's not like that in Carbondale, so.
Okay.
So some of these questions I might have, you probably addressed during work session, I just didn't realize that. So with the tax increase, the percentage was decreased this year, so, but the total budget increased. So are we getting more funding from the state? Are we getting more grant funding? Is there any additional funding?
So you are going to get me going like I just got on the cyber charter. The Lakeland School District is receiving the second lowest allotment from the state, only behind North Pocono this year. Our total amount is $250,000, which doesn't even cover contractual raises. There are districts around us who are getting significant increases due to the adequacy adjustment piece. The Lakeland School District does not get that. We are receiving, again, a total of we're slated to receive a total of $240,837. That's proposed. That can be cut still. Our hope would be that it's not, but it can only go down, I would say, right, as the budget negotiations go on. From a weighted ADM basis, that makes us, again, second lowest to only North Pocono in our county. So that's based on a formula that is supposedly a 9-year formula that we would be in year 2 of. So we can expect to be underfunded by the state for the next 7 years beyond this, if this were to hold, right? There are some districts, Carbondale area is receiving a total of $1.79 million. Scranton is receiving nearly 10. Riverside's receiving $1.258 million. Mid-Valley's receiving $1 million. So we're in a bad position when it comes to the state. With regard to grants, I'm actually happy to report that we were approved for the LSA grant for $50,000 that we submitted for the Mayfield Playground. It's not our total amount that we asked for, but at this point, we'll take whatever we can get. We've been successful on several grants. We got $450,000 for facilities improvement earlier this year. We received, I think, $187,000 for the other facilities grant that we had applied for. We received recently a $250,000 DCED school improvement grant. That's a no-match grant. So we've been pretty aggressive with going after grants. We've been pretty successful going after grants. Those are paying for the drop ceiling project in the 2 schools, Mayfield and Scott campus. And then we have others are, some to be allocated still. We obviously know the $50,000 is for the playground. So from a funding standpoint, our biggest issue with our current budget is the fact that our state funding falls woefully short of what we actually need to run the school district. And then you top it off with the fact that we're being, the cyber charter schools are also siphoning off huge, now we're paying $2 million this year to the cyber charter schools.
But just to
So
add,
it's-
just to add to that, Dr. Wine, the funding, the way the state has the funding set up, that is not something that local districts such as Lakeland has the opportunity to have say. That is a set formula.
We have
that
zero control
We have
over
zero
that.
control, right. So it's not within our control to be able to have input on that budget. So it's not, as Dr. Wine had eloquently phrased it, it's not for a lack of concern in us speaking.
That's
that
not
we're
something you
right.
can argue or fight, like the funding, you can't.
So, I mean, we advocate, we make sure that the legislators hear from us, but ultimately, this is driven by the fair funding lawsuit that was ruled on in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And the initial adequacy bump for us was, we think, correct and aligned because it utilized in-school poverty data as opposed to community data, which our community data is far different than what we're seeing come in our doors every day. And through the budget negotiations last year, they decided to go with community poverty data instead of school poverty data, and that cut our adequacy funding from $450,000 a year to $178,000 a year. So we wasn't good for us, and we advocated strongly to keep the in-school poverty data, because ultimately, the community, from a standpoint of the resources that are being utilized in a school, the kids walking through the door are really the accurate, the accurate reflection, not what's in the community, because if they choose private school, what does it matter? You know what I mean? So that's where we.
So you qualify for title grants, but they're saying that your status amongst the community is higher, so that kind of doesn't seem to equal.
Yeah, every district qualifies for title grants, just a matter of how much they get. Literally every district receives Title I funding. I believe, I can speak, I know Abington's the most affluent district, and I know that they receive Title I funding. Nowhere near the number that, say, a poverty, that's not the right terminology, a district with a significantly higher percentage of low-income students. But yes.
So that would offset some of the cost too as well.
The
Title funding, so that's going to be your incomes for your reading specialists.
Our title
That
funding
would offset.
is pretty minimal. Mr. Caputo, how many positions would you say we were able to fund fully with that?
Classroom reduction? Oh, okay.
What do we receive totally? Do you know offhand? I had to put you on the spot, but 180,000, 190 for Title I and IV?
It's like 247 in Title I, and then 45,000 in Title II, and then 17,000 Title IV.
Okay, yeah.
But it only funds, we have 3 people that we typically try to allocate that funding to, and it really only fully funds 2. The third one is always a game of what percent can we have. So, it's really not equal.
We generally, Ms. Teller, was last Tuesday? Yeah, it was last Tuesday. So we have Mr. Caputo does a budget presentation for us, open to the public. That's where a lot of our work sessions, where we have that open dialogue, where Mr. Caputo walked through the entire budget, page to page, to give us an overview for the upcoming year. But again, they're all public, and we don't have the work sessions anymore. They're not a recorded work session, they're in the library, but if it was, I'd say it's a great opportunity, you listen to the whole thing, but I would highly encourage you, if you want to come to the work sessions, it's probably the most important one of the year that we have in terms of passing our budget and all the financials.
Okay, yeah, different districts do things differently, so. And this might be something you could tell me that you already talked about it, and that's fine. Are there any improvements that are going to be made that are going to benefit students, staffs, or the grounds and facilities that are within the budget?
Yeah, so in the upcoming year, this summer, we're putting drop ceilings in to to eliminate the
Popcorn,
blown
whatever
on,
that is, yeah.
insulation.
Asbestos.
So.
I think it might be a sound barrier, if I'm correct.
It is, it's a sound barrier. But it's essentially insulation. It will be insulating with, covered by a drop ceiling come the next fall. Obviously, this year, we did put smart boards in all classrooms, and we did roll those out both buildings. Mayfield campus, either this summer or if the timeline doesn't work out, could be Christmas. We'll get is slated to get a new divider wall in the gym, Cafton Gymnatorium. And then, from there, we're still looking at where else. Again, we have the playground funds, so determining how we want to utilize those. So within while managing a budget deficit, right, we're still going after grants, for those projects that we know need to happen, right? And it's just, we're not able to do them as quickly as we would like, or I'm sure our constituents would like in the current budget situation. But we are making progress despite our current situation.
So who writes the grants, or who looks for the grants? Who
So,
does all that research?
We don't have a specific grant writer on staff. I write a lot of the grants. I work with the admin team. We will be collaborative in writing those, and then searching for them. We do have a consulting firm, GSL, who assists us with finding appropriate grants and then working on our behalf to help secure them. They do charge a fee, but when we're getting grant money, it's well worth it, So that's how we handle grants.
Okay, I think, and I've kind of mentioned this before, it's good to hear when we get grants, what they are, what they can be used for, because the public doesn't always know that, right? So I know we had that conversation about the ceilings, how you're replacing them, and, we had that conversation, but the community might not know. So
Sure.
The good things that you're doing with grants and getting grants, like talking about how they're being allocated, I think would, obviously make parents and community happy to know that, they're out there, you're putting the time and effort, and here's what we're doing with it. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mark, I have a comment. So you just said that the work sessions, yes, okay, they're open to the public, but it was always the rule in the past that it was to the discretion of the board, because I was corrected many a times when I spoke at a work session that, oh, no, they don't take public comment, okay? And the other thing is that there are no minutes of your work session. So going back to the 80s until recently, when did you change that? And is that going to be a thing of, oh, okay, well, no, this month you're going to speak and then you're not, and you don't have any minutes? Years ago, you used to have your principals and that here at the meetings where things could be addressed, it would be on the record. They give reports at the work sessions, which unless you're ashamed of them, it should be at these meetings so they're on the record. So why aren't they? And when did that change? And who changed it?
So Rose, we just like to keep you guessing. Any other public comment?
Well, because you don't have an answer.
Any other public comment? Okay. All right. We are going to, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Oh, yep. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Christina Kingery. From Scott Township. I talked to you guys, I was at the work session last week, and I did ask, I just wanted to propose, and you did, Dr. Wright, say that it can't be done till the 26-27 school year. I know it's a teacher contract thing. I just spoke to many parents, and personally just the Scott Elementary, about moving we get one conference. I mean, other districts do multiple conferences. I would love to see that. I do know you are able to contact your teachers and propose a conference anytime, but sometimes those times don't work because it's during their planning periods. I know my son's planning period's 8:30 to 9:10, 9:30 to 10 something, and parents work. I don't work, but I could attend them, but a lot can't. So it can be really difficult too, and like the previous, I forget her name, said some teachers are not great at communicating, and also their day is done before our children even get off the bus. So if there's an issue that arises, it's not answered that day, it's the next. But back to the beginning, what I would like to propose is to move, if we are only allowed in their contract, one conference a year. We just, as parents, and I speak for a lot of the Scott Elementary, the first quarter doesn't really make sense. We love the back-to-school night, and that's great. do wish it was before school, so the kids can get in their building and see their new classroom. That's another issue I've talked to teachers about. But I would love to see the conference moved from first to either second or third. Just first few months, it's really a lot of review, teachers still getting to know the kids. Second quarter, they're getting into stuff, and especially third quarter, especially in fourth grade when they move up in the Scott campus upstairs. It's a big switch for them. Teachers admit it, students know it, and we saw a lot of drastic grades, 4 to 1 in a third quarter, and where all the parents are taken back, and everyone has a lot of questions. And then we end up calling the teachers and bombarding, and they're losing their planning period. I'm like, well, it just makes more sense if we have conferences in the third or the second quarter. So you said it's not up for discussion until 26, 27? Is that
So and thank you. I know we had a great discussion, and I could certainly appreciate your perspective on it. So the calendar for the coming year has already been approved. And I said, there are reasons why, that you can make a good argument for early versus late, right? One of the rationales with early is that you can intervene with kids who, and maybe get parents more engaged, and so, but you also articulate why later could also be good, right? So for the coming year, the parent-teacher conferences are currently set, but I did say, it's something that, feedback that we're always willing to take and talk about as an admin team with teachers, get their perspective with the association, because for all we know, everyone may be feeling like, closer to the middle of the year is better. So definitely something that we'll talk about. The earliest we could make a change in the calendar would be 26, 27 with regard to the date. And then adding a set of conferences, that's a CBA issue, and our CBA expires in 2027. So the 2027-28 school year is the first opportunity under a new CBA, but I can't make any promises because that's negotiated.
I just want to put it out on the table that a lot of, I just feel it would be a little more beneficial.
Sure.
And then I did want to address, and she has left prior, but I am next year's PTA president at Scott campus. And we put a lot of work, our teachers put a lot of work into our school. And I just was learning about, I'm new to this district. I grew up in Valley View. We always had field trips. I didn't know Mayfield didn't, but it's getting blamed, and now people want Scott PTA's money at Mayfield, and I do not think it's fair. We do a lot of hard work and a lot of fundraising, which you have limited to 5 fundraisers a year for us, and so we do provide, we go over our budget and have a stipend and per grade, and they are able to use it, just so the board knows and clarifies this. And some teachers take it and some don't, and if they don't take it, it does not get absorbed to the next year. They can use it, some used it for Mother's Day crafts, some used it, maybe planners or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it is there to use. Not everyone uses it for a field, I should say, we do call them now educational trips, not field trips. So it is there, but a lot of the teachers do the work on their own, do the planning on their own, and then the cost, it's usually they work out a plan wherever they're going for this educational trip. And so like for my son, for instance, in second grade, we paid $4. So it is being paid for by the parents, and the teachers are doing the work, and I believe the district is then providing the transportation and that funding. So just to clarify that it is not just PTA and the difference, and that we really, I'm all for one school, but we are a different building and a different PTA. So I will not be combining with Mayfield and doing the work, because we have tried before, and we have not had great success with that. It is difficult, and so the suggestion also, I don't know how we make it more fair or more encouraging for the Mayfield teachers to provide these educational trips, and maybe it's the principal that maybe could take them. I'm friends with Valley View principals, and I've seen them personally on field trips. I don't know if it's from the board or you talked about it, that can encourage them, because they do feel bad, and it is something I have heard of growing up, the differences between the schools, and it isn't fair, but it's not a PTA thing, and it's not just a teacher thing, but I don't know what it is, but I would hope that there is further investigation and further encouragement and morale for these teachers to want to do educational trips and create fairness throughout the district. So that's it. And then the substitute thing, I have had issues with that since, and Mr. Pivero's not here, but I gave it my all one time when my child in kindergarten was left unattended because there was not subs 2 years ago. And there was a teachers took turns watching them in the hallway. Everyone went around the bush and no one was to blame. Stories were told. It never got resolved. But our children do sit on the floors of the classrooms. And you said in the beginning of the year, we had a higher sub rate. My child was still sitting on floors in the classrooms being split. I'm not sure if our pay rate, I haven't looked. I used to be on the Kelly sub list. And obviously I always chose the higher paying job or the school with most morale that I wanted to, or if I was looking to get hired. So I don't know what these subs are doing or how they're feeling, if they're getting taken away. I know a few personally that were the building subs. They kind of left with a bitter taste because they would go for jobs over and over again here, and they were getting taken away by other people that were not subbing here. I don't know our rate, or are we 110?
We're 120, so we're
And that's what, yeah, I've spoke to teachers and they said we do have a higher rate. I'm not sure.
What I can offer, and it doesn't help us necessarily, but in speaking with my colleagues, it's no different in any other district. No one is getting 100% fill rates. And even actually when we were getting the strong fill rates earlier in the year, we were doing significantly better than a lot of our peer districts, just from conversations. But it's kind of equaled out. Again, the teaching pool is really the problem that needs to be addressed. But our rate is competitive.
Okay, I just wanted to make
And
sure
our subs
that was-
also report that they like working here.
Good.
Like, we have good kids, we have really good kids. K to 12, our buildings, our teachers are good to them, so.
Yeah. Oh, and you mentioned playground. I'm just going to throw this out there because it also has been mentioned to me. That's Mayfield. And I don't know if it's just specifically grant money that we can look for or what we can do, but a lot of the teachers have been asking, and I didn't know if I have to get a separate go-ahead to try to raise that money through PTA, other fundings, but the kindergarten playground at the Scott building is, I'm just going to say pathetic. It's like just this tiny little thing, and it's better than nothing. But I was told a couple of different things that we're not allowed to even talk about it because if we expand, it would go over the kindergarten playground.
So I think two things. One, from a priority standpoint, the playground structure in the rear of Mayfield campus is our oldest.
Right.
And that is definitely a priority
Yeah.
for the district. The second thing, and it can be frustrating, I know, but, everybody's opinion of adequate, right, is definitely different. And if we, even through the PTA, right, when we're talking about equity, if we were to allow this big, beautiful playground structure to be purchased by the PTA and installed at Scott campus, the district would then have to purchase and put in the same playground structure or something very similar at Mayfield campus. And so that always becomes because we can't have one building just based on the ability to fundraise, motivation to fundraise, any of those things, right, to really outpace from an equity standpoint another building. And, that's been the case. Anywhere I've ever been where there's multiple buildings, there's always, the equity piece has to be sustained, So we do keep an eye on that. It's not to, keep any specific building down over another because another building can't be built up, but we have a responsibility to make sure that we keep an eye on equity between the buildings.
Okay. I thought I was told, and I'm not sure if anyone would know, that our playground in the back of Scott was funded not through the district.
It was funded by the PTA. That was before my time, but that was funded by the PTA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was allowed, but then not another one.
That was allowed. I was not here, and I think most of the board members weren't here, but we would have to be very cautious about installing new equipment. And I don't think, I think that from the standpoint of the two structures, I don't think there's a world of difference. The Taj Mahal wasn't installed over there, and and then Mayfield has a rinky-dink structure, for example. But now, it's incumbent upon us, it's time to do something with Mayfield's
Because the
Mayfield's
PTA
playground
was
structure.
also approached to install $30,000 worth of mats in the gym. But they didn't.
So we did not, and Scott's gym also is utilized for athletics, and Mayfield's is not currently, right?
Yes, Mayfield is.
The little kids practice down there. Yeah, I'm saying, we don't host games down there. So anyway, our goal, and I'm not saying we're 100% in our goal, but our goal is to try and maintain equity between the buildings as much as possible, right? Because it's our responsibility, right? We can't have one building in the district that is, a world of difference between the other. And to whatever degree that may historically have been, we're attempting to try and rectify
Because
that.
I put the stop to that because I did not think that was what the PTA money should be for, to install $30,000 worth of mats into our building. That's been there since the 60s. And that was an issue in the beginning of the year, and I said that wasn't our correct funding. I believe that should be grant money to update our buildings, which Scott Elementary also really needs updated bathrooms. There's things that are not working.
Yep, all of our buildings definitely need upgrades.
Yeah, but, so we don't have a specific grant writer. You're writing them, no one else.
Myself and the admin team are writing the grants. Yes, we don't have a grant writer on staff. We do have GSL as a consultant, so they do some grant writing for us.
Okay. All right, yeah, because we did offer, as a PTA too, we had someone that was going to supply some things for the bathroom, but then we were told that was not possible then.
That was approved at our level.
It was approved.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, I don't have all the information on that because that was not me on the PTA that was doing that.
Yeah, there was a generous donation offered. I was under the impression that was being installed this summer, and our maintenance staff was going to assist with that.
Yeah, I think there was.
That was planned
Didn't
for-
have something with the bathrooms.
That was-
remember? That we got Yeah. Okay, that was it, the issue with a toilet and the plumbing. That's right.
Yeah, we have some plumbing work going on at Scott
Okay.
campus right now. I believe a sink was recently installed. So
Thank you.
we're working on it.
Yeah, no, I'm late to the party here, so I'm showing up, but we just have concerns, and
Sure.
I love all the kids, so,
Thank you, so do we.
Thank you for attending. I think we had both PTA elementary presidents here, so that's great. Okay, I'm going to move to adjourn. Jeremy, you want to do us the honor and adjourn your last school board meeting as a student? All you simply have to do is say, I make a motion to adjourn.
I would love to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourns. Madam Secretary, can you please note a 8:45 PM adjournment time for the record? Thank you.